We'll continue this afternoon with Red Wings head coach Derek Lalonde. Please let us know in the chat if you'd like to ask a question. And we will start with Lalonde St. James.
Hi, Derek. Oscar Sundqvist wasn't out there. Is he?
Yeah, he's in a day-to-day mode. I think our training staff's trying to figure out a best case scenario for him, how to manage it. But it's day-to-day. I don't think it's anything that's going to be too concerning, but he'll be in a day-to-day early on through camp here.
Okay. And David Perron, kind of, what do you foresee his role being?
Well, even in his want to push practice today, what's been really exciting about David and talking to him throughout the summer is he's self-admitted he's had to evolve within his career on approach, work ethic, habits. And I think it's an unbelievable example of where he is now. He expects practice to be at a high pace. He wants practice to be at a high pace. He wants guys to work throughout the entire practice. And I think he's embracing that role. It's something we talked about, something he wanted, I think, to embrace in the off season. And day one, he stayed true to his word. So he's going to bring some energy to practice, which was a nice sign.
And I know, things can change and things are a little with Andrew Kopp being out, but are he and Verana appearing like two wingers you could see having success long term, or being on the line?
I know we talked briefly yesterday. I wouldn't look into these lines very much. Even tomorrow, you'll see some drastic changes with the lines. We'll get a feel. Again, having 8 exhibition games is a lot. We're going to get a chance to look at a lot of different combinations. The first few days is going to be a ton of structure, a ton of system work. Try to keep our pace up along with all that. But I wouldn't concentrate or look too much into any of the line combinations or D pairs in the first few days.
Just a lighthearted question. When did guys first started calling you Newsy?
That's a good question. Probably sometime in college. Obviously the Hall of Famer, Newsy, he's Lalonde, I'm Lalonde, but the Montreal Canadian. So it just kind of went from there. I still think there's some people to this day in Tampa that don't even know who Derek is. They only know me as Newsy. So I'm comfortable with it. You can ask some of the guys. I don't mind Coach, but Coach feels very old. Feel a little more personable and a little personal when guys call me Newsy.
Yeah, thank you.
Max Boltman.
Hey, Derek, I'm curious, when you go into a camp like this or even beyond this, how do you weigh kind of the chemistry that guys might have had with each other in the past, with you wanting to have fresh eyes on it and see what works? Yeah,
obviously we watched a ton back from last year, tried to be very open-minded. I meant it when I told everyone there's going to be a fresh start. And even when I admit the fresh start, sometimes, you just think of that negatively. Fresh start also in the positives. Obviously, there's some guys that had some chemistry last year with some numbers that were put up. Again, I kind of mentioned it with Lean there. There'll be some of that. We'll go back to some of those lines, but we're going to look at everything through this preseason. Obviously, the 8 exhibition games. A little of history will go into some lines. Obviously, you saw Larkin, Bertuzzi, and Raymond today. That was a pretty effective line. Any way you looked at it, the eye test, the analytics test. So they started together day one, but we'll probably look at something different even in day 2.
And then Nedeljkovic was talking about kind of you let off. He didn't tell us what the numbers were. You let off the meeting with a lot of numbers from last year. I mean, how big a part of your message right now is kind of looking at where things were and where they need to be, I guess?
Yeah, I just think it emphasized the team defense. A lot of those numbers reflected poorly on our team defense, and everyone knows that was an issue for us. So just trying to put an emphasis and really hit home on what we're going to work on and what we're going to try to improve on. And you can see that started here in day 1.
And then I guess on that note, what can a guy like Ben Sherratt do to help that?
No, I think there was a purpose with the signing of Ben Sherratt. I think Steve did a really good job with all of his signings to fill holes. Ben is someone who takes pride in keeping the puck out of the net. And I think that'll be a very good example for the rest of our team. So I think he's going to take a lot of pride, and he's going to front that, our ability to hopefully improve our team defense. He's going to take some ownership over that.
Thank you.
Jonathan Mills.
Yeah, Derek, when we spoke yesterday, you had mentioned you were feeling anxious, excited for today, first day. Are those first day jitters finally out, or how did that go for you?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Again, you put so much time into your summer and preparing literally for day one. You know, obviously we've got our entire camp pretty much skeletoned out. But I think, I don't know if it changes. You know, we were fortunate enough to hire Bob Budner because he's supposed to be my experience and the guy lead the way. He was pacing this morning. So I'm like, I guess it's still jitters no matter how long you've been at this in any scenario. So we were just excited to get things going. We've talked this to death and preparing. We just want to see it translate on the ice. And for the most part, I thought a pretty good day, even as a coaching staff. I think we improved from session 1 to session 2, just probably the reality of some reps with the drills.
Appreciate it.
Ansar Khan.
Yeah, hi, Derek. Just with the young defenseman like Simon Edmondson, obviously desperately wants to make the team and wants to impress here in this training camp. Just what is your message to him as far as what you want to see, and maybe, you know, telling him that maybe not to try to overdo it or over press things.
Yeah, you nailed it. Not overdoing it. Really good showing I thought in the 3 games he played in the rookie camp. And it'll be our goal to simplify things for him. I think these reps are very important, but what's really important for Simon is going to be hard reps. And you saw that second half of practice today. There was a lot of hard reps in there. I think the improvement of our team defense is going to start with getting stops within the D zone. And, you know, like all of our D, we're going to ask Simon to be good, effective, and hard in that area. So play within yourself, take it all in stride, take a very hard approach to practice and get those hard reps is what we're going to look for Simon.
And just overall, what do you see as the strengths of this team?
I think we can skate. There's no doubt about that. You could dissect last year's season any way you want with the defensive deficiency numbers, the holes here, the holes there. Obviously, I think Steve did a good job addressing those with free agency, but this is a group of guys that we feel can skate, and we are going to hopefully use that as an advantage and potentially identity for us. So I think this group can skate from the D out, and we want to try to play fast, take advantage of that ability to be able to skate.
Thanks, Derek.
John Neal.
Hey, Derek, I'm just wondering how much or how well have you gotten to know Dylan thus far these first couple months, and how important is that relationship, do you think, for you?
It's vitally important. I tried to work very hard. We tried to work very hard as a staff this summer on getting to know the group. We literally worked off a spreadsheet on when we talked to the certain player, what we talked to them about, and why. And it just forces you to stay on top of it, because I think those relationships are vitally important. Dylan and I, we've talked a ton, even some little projects, something as simple as our travel schedule, hotels. I put a lot on him, talk to a leadership group and getting his feedback and that. One unique situation I find here that was very similar to my time in Tampa. We have a true captain, and we had a true captain in Tampa and Steven Stamkos. And I say that because if you look around on the 32 teams, everyone has a captain, but it takes time to have that true captain. I think we have one. Everyone sees him as our true captain. Now we can build that leadership group around him. And again, when you have a true captain, he needs to be the first person on board. So it was important. anything we have messaging wise, anything new within our structure, he's on board. So it's an important relationship. We'll lean on him a lot. I think he's ready for the task. He's very mature. He wants team success, and he's going to be a big part of what we're doing here, especially early on.
And along those lines, I guess, what sense have you gotten from him being around him now for a while about just his excitement level with the influx of, the new talent, the moves that Steve made?
He's excited. I think, what the typical fan is feeling. I know Steve and I have talked about being cautious, and it's true. We're a long ways from being where we think this can be, and we're a long ways where we want to be. But I think there's some excitement, some optimism, and he feels that too. He wants to win. He's been through everything here in the past 7 years. And I think he, just like anyone else, we want to take that natural progression, whatever that looks like. We want to take that natural progression, becoming better. And hopefully we'll do that.
Ted Colfin.
Hey, Derek, I'm just curious, going back to an earlier question. Did you allow yourself to soak it in a little bit this morning when you stepped on the ice? It's like, all right, I'm finally head coach in the NHL. For a split second, did you kind of soak it in a little bit?
Not really. You're so busy on trying to get everything, the boxes checked off of being prepped. Not really. More nervous about today just going smoothly. You want to make a first impression with everyone. We want to be sharp with what we're doing as a staff, which will reflect in our practice and our play. So nope, did not have that moment. Maybe early in the season, maybe through the first game, maybe through the first W, but good question, fair question, but maybe I'm getting really cold in my old age, but no, didn't really have any of those feelings.
Hey, how do you view your goaltending right now? Do you want to establish a number one? Are you just going to let the two of them play it out, or how do you see that position right there?
That's going to be a healthy competition. The only thing I have communicated with them is they'll both get the net early on. And we feel both goalies have upside in their game. We want both goalies competing with each other, and we want that to be a healthy competition. If one of those two can take that net sometime, great. But early on, they're both going to get the net.
Sounds good. Thanks for this.
Yep.
George Malik.
Hi, Coach. I was wondering, you guys did quite a bit of video today before and in the middle of practices. How do you balance wanting to teach your system with not overwhelming the players with information?
And that's a great question, George. It's something coaches balance all the time. I try to balance. We literally, in going over those meetings, we would practice those in front of a group to try to get those meetings within a reasonable time in that 4 to 5 minute range, simply because we don't want to overwhelm them. I think we did a good job with that. Retention is a huge part of video and having it translate. So I think we're realistic in knowing we're not going to get it all in day one or through a 5-minute, 12 clip video session, but it's the start of it. They see it once, we'll go over it again. And that's what camp's for. That's what preseason's for. Again, 8 games is a lot in the National Hockey League for exhibition. This year in particular, I'm excited that we have 8 for that repetition and introducing new structure, new systems.
It was actually evident to me that the second practice worked a little smoother than the first. So I think you did a good job there. There's a thumbs up for me, at least. Anyway, I was wondering, what's the next step in the lesson plan? Obviously, you have not only training camp, but as you said, the exhibition season and the exhibition games themselves to get the reps in. But what's the next layer in the pancake, as it were?
Yeah, I think we're going to be, again, I talked to Helene there. We'll be structured based probably through these first 3 days here. Tomorrow we'll introduce some neutral zone. We'll introduce some forecheck, some OZP track, those gap situations being on top. And then I think the following day, we're going to talk about some tracking, and then that'll lead into our special teams. And then by then, the following day will lead into our red-white game. We think we'll have a pretty good base of what we covered. And obviously, we'll see how that translates into the game. Now you really got a process going. Now we've introduced our structure. A lot of it's new structure. Now you get a chance to rep in the games, and we'll have some quality video and some teaching off of that going into our exhibition games.
Last one for me. I was wondering, obviously it's just the first impressions on the first day, but what you thought about Pontus Andreasen. I know that he's got some hands to him.
Yeah, it's tough for me to comment on individuals early on, simply because I'm so focused on the overall team structure. I probably have a better feel for the practice more than individuals. So probably have a better feel for those guys as they start getting reps in game situations, whether it's a red-white game or exhibition games.
Last question, Art Regner.
Hi, Derek. You might have answered this question already with Ted, and I apologize if you did, but I am kind of curious. Today is the first day that you stepped out on the ice as a head coach in the NHL. Was there a moment of quiet reflection or anything where it kind of dawned on you, or it really became real today that, you know, Derek Lalonde is the head coach of the Detroit Red Wings?
Yeah, not really. It's just, you put so much in the off season to prepare for day one, to prepare for your first week, your first 2 weeks of camp. It was literally just, it was the process. It was work. It was checking off boxes right to the last second. I felt like I was involved with our video coaches and getting structure and our practice ready. So no, not that moment. It was all work today. Maybe sometime, I mentioned earlier, maybe after our first win, hopefully sooner than later, can reflect back on that.
Another thing here, you've already stated a bit that you're only up in Traverse City for 4 days, and then you start playing preseason games, and I think 4 and 5 days, and they're really going to come quickly. Is there a goal or something you truly want to accomplish while you're up in Traverse City, where you won't have the, preparing for games and that? Is it tangible, or is this going to be a process that's going to take maybe even through the early part of the season?
Yeah, I think our goal here is our base of a lot of our big structure. And fortunately, the way it's worked out, we think we're going to introduce and hit pretty much all of our big structure before we get to that red-white game. So I think that I don't know if there was an exact purpose in the amount of days here, but it kind of works out pretty good that we're going to hit most of our big structure base before that red-white game, and that will lead into our first exhibition game.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be back shortly with Dylan Larkin.